She was too fat to dance, too ugly to marry, but he removed the sack and proposed instead. Her house was modest, with walls that had seen years of sunlight and rain, and a tiny garden where her mother grew flowers that Amina loved to watch. From the very beginning, Amina was a quiet child, observant and thoughtful, with large brown eyes that seemed to take in everything around her. But unlike other children, she was always bigger. Even as a little girl, she had soft, round cheeks and a plump body that made her stand out. People would smile at her gently, sometimes in admiration, but often in ways that made her feel different, even awkward. School was her first real challenge. The classrooms were small and crowded, and children could be cruel without even realizing it. While other girls played freely during recess, Amina would linger at the edges of the playground, watching, wishing she could join in without being laughed at. Whenever she tried to dance along with the other children, she would stumble, not because she lacked rhythm, but because her body moved differently than theirs. The teasing began quietly at first. "Why are you so slow?" a classmate would whisper. "You can't even twirl properly," another would say, giggling. At first, Amina tried to ignore it, believing that maybe someday she would be like the other girls, slim and graceful. But as days turned into months, the whispers and the laughter became harder to bear. Despite this, Amina found small joys that no one could take away. She loved music more than anything. The moment she heard a melody, her body felt compelled to move. She would sway gently to the tunes her mother hummed while cooking, or tiptoe to the rhythm of birds singing in the morning. In her small room, she danced freely, spinning and twirling as if no one could see her. These private moments gave her comfort, a secret world where she felt beautiful, even if just for a few minutes. Dance was her escape, her way of speaking when words failed her, and her silent rebellion against a world that told her she was too big, too clumsy, too unworthy. Her family loved her dearly, but they were practical people, bound by tradition. Her father worked long hours at a local factory, his hands calloused from years of labor, while her mother spent her days managing the household. They were proud of Amina, yet like many parents in their town, they often reminded her that her future would depend on marriage. "You must be careful," her mother would say gently. "A good man will want someone healthy and presentable. You must look your best." These words, though meant to guide her, sank deep into Amina's heart. She already felt out of place, and now she carried the heavy weight of expectation. School events were the hardest. Every year, the school held a festival with dancing and singing competitions. Amina watched from the sidelines, her heart aching as she saw other girls take the stage with confidence, twirling gracefully while everyone clapped. She wanted to participate so badly, but fear gripped her. What if she fell? What if everyone laughed at her? The thought of embarrassment was unbearable. Sometimes she would muster the courage to join in practice, only to retreat when the other children snickered or whispered. Each time her love for dance clashed with her fear, leaving her torn and frustrated. Amina's closest friend at school was Zara, a kind-hearted girl who never cared about looks. Zara often tried to encourage Amina. "You're amazing, Amina. Your dancing is different, but it's beautiful." But even Zara could not fully shield her from the teasing that seemed to follow her everywhere. At home, Amina would often cry quietly, holding her mother's hand and asking why she was so different. Her mother would hug her tightly and say, "You are perfect just the way you are. One day, the world will see what I see in you." These words were a comfort, but they could not fully erase the sting of daily ridicule. As Amina grew older, she faced new challenges. Puberty brought changes to her body, and her weight increased even more. Boys in school whispered behind her back, calling her names she couldn't repeat. Girls, once her friends, began to distance themselves, chasing ideals of beauty and popularity that left Amina feeling invisible. Yet, even in the darkest moments, she held on to dance. It was her anchor, her proof that she had a gift that no one could take away. Every evening, after finishing her chores and homework, she would play music softly in her room and let her body move, spinning and twirling until her cheeks were flushed and her heart light. Her love for dancing was not just about movement, it was about expression. Amina longed to communicate her feelings through every gesture, to show the world that she was more than her appearance. She watched videos of professional dancers, imitating their movements in her small space, dreaming of a day when she could perform in front of an audience without fear. But reality was harsh. In her town, opportunities for someone like her were limited. Dance competitions favored slim, elegant performers, and teachers often overlooked her talent. Rejection became a familiar companion, but instead of breaking her, it quietly strengthened her resolve. Her self-esteem remained fragile, however. Each comment about her size, each dismissive glance, reminded her of the barriers she faced. She would look in the mirror and wish she could change, imagining herself thin and graceful, someone who could easily step onto the stage without fear. But at the same time, she began to notice small things about herself that she loved. The way her hands moved gracefully when she danced, the strength in her legs that allowed her to spin faster than anyone else could, the warmth of her smile that could brighten her mother's day. These small recognitions became seeds of confidence, tiny sparks that would grow over time. School eventually ended, but the lessons remained. The world outside was no gentler than the classroom. Amina attended local gatherings and festivals, where beauty and slimness were often praised above skill or heart. She learned quickly that people judged by appearances first and talent later, but she refused to give up entirely. Dance remained her constant companion, a source of joy and self-expression that no one could take away. Even when she felt invisible, even when her heart ached with loneliness, she danced. And somewhere in the quiet moments, Amina began to dream of a life where she could be accepted for who she truly was. She imagined a future where someone would see beyond her appearance, someone who would appreciate her courage, her talent, and her heart. It was a fragile hope, one that she kept hidden deep inside, but it was enough to keep her moving forward. Even in a town that often seemed cruel and judgmental, Amina clung to her dreams, letting her spirit soar in the privacy of her own small world. By the time she reached late adolescence, Amina had developed a quiet strength. She was still heavier than most girls, still often overlooked, but her love for dance and her growing self-awareness gave her resilience. She began to understand that her worth was not measured by what others thought of her body. She learned that courage came not from fitting in, but from embracing who she was, flaws and all. And though she did not yet know it, this inner strength would soon be tested in ways that would change her life forever, introducing her to someone who would see her in a light no one else ever had. As Amina moved into her late teenage years, life seemed both familiar and challenging. Her town had not changed much: small streets, low houses, and a community where everyone knew each other. Gossip traveled quickly, and opinions often felt like chains, weighing heavily on those who didn't fit the usual mold. Amina had grown taller and fuller, her body curvier than most girls her age. Yet with her increasing size, her love for dance remained constant, though now it was mixed with a quiet fear. She longed to perform in front of people, to show her talent and her heart, but the memory of years of teasing made her hesitant. School had ended, but festivals, cultural events, and small competitions continued to shape the rhythm of town life. Every year, the annual cultural festival brought excitement. Children, teenagers, and adults prepared dances, songs, and performances, hoping to impress the audience. For Amina, these events were both a temptation and a test. She wanted to be part of them, but the fear of humiliation held her back. Each rehearsal she watched from the sidelines felt like a painful reminder of what she was not, yet also a whisper of what she could become if she had courage. During one such festival, Amina noticed someone she had not paid attention to before. Imran, A young man a few years older than her was observing the dance practices. He was quiet but attentive, with a calm presence that seemed to make people around him feel comfortable. While others often laughed or judged, Imran watched closely, noticing the small movements that revealed someone's true talent. He had seen Amina trying to practice in secret, gently mimicking the steps, trying to keep her rhythm steady despite her nerves. Imran admired her determination. He could see how much she loved dance, even though the world often made her feel unworthy. He remembered his own experiences of being misunderstood and judged, and he felt a connection with her struggle. Slowly, he started speaking to her during breaks, offering small words of encouragement. "You have a beautiful way of moving," he said once, smiling warmly. "Don't be afraid to dance in front of people. They'll see your heart in it." Amina was startled. She had grown used to people avoiding her or whispering behind her back, not someone seeing her for who she truly was. At first, she hesitated to respond, unsure if he was being kind or just polite. But over time, she realized that Imran's encouragement was genuine. He asked about her favorite dances, helped her understand timing and rhythm, and quietly motivated her to practice more. She began to look forward to their conversations, even if they were short and simple. Her confidence grew slowly. She still feared judgment, but the thought that someone truly appreciated her effort gave her courage she had never felt before. She practiced daily, often alone in her room, replaying the advice Imran had given her. Every movement became more fluid, more confident. She learned to let go of some of her insecurities, though the whispers of self-doubt were never entirely gone. Amina's family noticed a subtle change in her. Her mother saw her practicing with more energy and smiled, proud of the determination she had. "I can see you're finally feeling brave," her mother said one evening. "Keep believing in yourself, Amina. One day, everyone will see what I see." Her father, though less expressive, began complimenting her more often, noticing her resilience and strength. These small gestures fueled her motivation, and she began to feel a quiet pride in herself. One afternoon, as the town prepared for another small festival, Amina was practicing near the community hall. She was nervous because this time she had been asked to perform in a group dance. The other performers were slim and elegant, their movements smooth and practiced. Amina felt the familiar pang of insecurity, her stomach twisting with worry. What if she stumbled? What if people laughed? She took a deep breath and remembered Imran's words, "Dance with your heart, not for their eyes." When she stepped onto the practice floor, her movements were tentative at first, but as the music played, something inside her shifted. She stopped thinking about what others might say and let herself move freely. Her body swayed naturally, and her face reflected the joy she felt. The other dancers paused for a moment, noticing the sincerity and emotion in her performance. Even though her movements were not perfect, there was a beauty in her determination and authenticity that could not be ignored. Imran watched quietly from the side, his heart swelling with admiration. He saw the spark in her eyes, the way she poured her soul into the dance. When she finished, he clapped softly, just enough for her to hear. Amina's face lit up, and she realized for the first time that someone truly appreciated her efforts. That moment, small as it seemed, changed something in her. She began to believe that maybe, just maybe, she could shine despite the world's harsh judgments. As the festival approached, Amina's confidence continued to grow. She practiced more regularly, refining her steps and learning to control her nerves. Imran continued to support her, offering advice and encouragement, but never pushing her beyond her comfort. Their friendship deepened, built on trust and understanding. Amina began to share small pieces of her life with him, her dreams of dancing professionally, her frustrations with society's focus on appearance, and her quiet fears of being judged. Imran listened patiently, offering reassurance without ever belittling her feelings. The day of the festival finally arrived. Amina stood backstage, her heart pounding. She could hear the audience murmuring, people excited to see the performances. Her group looked polished and confident, but Amina felt the old familiar fear creeping in. She glanced at Imran, who gave her a calm nod and a small smile. That silent support was enough to steady her. When the music began, she stepped forward, letting her body move with the rhythm. She twirled, leapt, and spun, pouring all her emotions into the performance. For the first time, she danced not to hide, not to impress, but to express herself fully. The audience noticed. Whispers of surprise spread through the crowd. People began to see past her appearance and watch the way she moved, the passion in her dance. Amina's eyes met Imran's several times during the performance, and each time she saw his admiration, it strengthened her resolve. By the end of the routine, she was breathless but exhilarated. For a moment, the fear of judgment melted away, replaced by a sense of accomplishment she had never known before. After the festival, as people congratulated the other performers, Amina stood quietly, unsure how to respond to the attention she was beginning to receive. Imran approached her, smiling warmly. "You were amazing," he said simply. "I told you, your heart shows in everything you do." His words felt like a shield against the years of ridicule, a reminder that her worth was not defined by others' opinions. For the first time, Amina felt truly seen, and the feeling was powerful. Over the next few weeks, Amina began to participate more actively in community events. She taught younger children some basic dance steps, sharing her passion with those who were curious. People started to notice her not just for her size, but for her talent, her patience, and her courage. Slowly, she began to see herself differently. While she still faced insecurities, she understood that courage, dedication, and heart were what truly mattered. Her friendship with Imran also grew stronger. They shared long walks through the town, talking about dreams, hopes, and fears. He never judged her, never focused on her appearance, and always encouraged her to pursue her love for dance. Amina felt safe with him, a rare feeling after years of isolation and judgment. She began to trust that someone could genuinely appreciate her for who she was inside, not just for how she looked. As the seasons changed, so did Amina's confidence. She no longer hid in corners or avoided social events. Instead, she approached each opportunity with quiet determination. She still danced in private sometimes when emotions were too strong or when she needed reassurance, but she also began performing publicly, small steps at a time. Each performance, each rehearsal, strengthened her sense of self. She realized that her talent was not just about dance. It was about resilience, courage, and the willingness to face the world despite fear. Amina's story was slowly transforming from one of fear and insecurity to one of hope and growth. She was discovering that life's challenges could be met with determination, and that support from someone who truly understood her could make a profound difference. Imran's presence in her life was a quiet but steady reminder that love and respect could exist beyond appearances. And though she did not yet know the full journey that awaited her, she was beginning to see the possibility of a future where she could be proud of herself, where her talents and her heart could shine without shame. The town's annual cultural festival was approaching again, and this year it promised to be bigger than ever. Everyone was preparing in earnest, students rehearsing dances, singers practicing songs, and local artisans decorating the streets with vibrant colors. Amina felt a mixture of excitement and fear. She wanted to participate more than ever before, but memories of past teasing and humiliation lingered in her mind. Every time she thought about stepping onto a stage, the anxiety gripped her chest, making it hard to breathe. Yet she also knew that she could no longer let fear control her. Imran was there, as always, quietly observing, offering support without pushing her too far. "Remember," he said one afternoon while helping her practice, "the dance is yours. Move with your heart. The world will either see it or miss it, but it doesn't change who you are." His words became her mantra. She practiced every day, spinning and leaping with increasing confidence. Her movements were becoming more fluid, more expressive, a reflection of the courage and determination that had been growing inside her for years. Despite her growing skill, Amina was aware of the judgmental eyes around her. Many of the other performers were slim, elegant, and poised, their confidence radiating as naturally as sunlight. They whispered among themselves, occasionally casting glances at her, some curious, others skeptical. Amina's heart would tighten, but she forced herself to focus on the rhythm of the music, on the joy of dancing, and on the supportive presence of Imran. She reminded herself that her value was not measured by their opinions, but by her own dedication and passion. The day of the festival arrived. The streets were lined with colorful banners, and the air buzzed with excitement. Families crowded the open space, children laughed and ran about, and performers hurried backstage, adjusting costumes and checking props. Amina's group was scheduled to perform in the late afternoon, giving her a few hours to prepare, to calm her nerves, and to focus her energy. She stood behind the stage curtains, her heart hammering, feeling the familiar mix of anticipation and fear. When it was time to perform, she stepped onto the stage with the other dancers. The audience's applause rang in her ears, and for a moment, fear threatened to take over. But then she saw Imran standing near the edge of the crowd, his eyes fixed on her, his presence a silent reassurance. Taking a deep breath, she let the music guide her, letting her body move as it had so many times in her private moments. She twirled and leaped, her arms flowing with grace, pouring all her emotions into every step. For a brief moment, it seemed as though the crowd forgot to judge. People watched in silence, mesmerized by the sincerity in her movements. But soon, whispers began to spread. "Look at her size," someone murmured. "How can she dance like that?" A few others giggled. Amina felt the familiar sting of humiliation, but she did not stop. She continued to dance, determined to prove to herself and to everyone else that she could shine even in the face of ridicule. Then, it happened. A group of older students, trying to make a cruel point, brought a large burlap sack and placed it on the stage near her. It was meant to humiliate her, to show that she was too big and unworthy of performing. Amina froze for a moment, the sack symbolizing all the years of judgment, whispers, and ridicule she had endured. Her heart pounded, and tears threatened to spill over. The audience watched in awkward silence, unsure of how to react. Imran did not hesitate. Without a word, he stepped forward and removed the sack from the stage, lifting it out of her path. The act was simple, but the message was profound. He was protecting her dignity, refusing to let cruel traditions or thoughtless people define her worth. Amina felt a surge of relief and gratitude, mixed with admiration for the courage he had shown. It was as if a weight she had carried for years had been lifted, even if only for a moment. With the sack gone, she returned her focus to the dance. Each movement was infused with strength, resilience, and raw emotion. She twirled higher, leapt further, and moved with a grace that came not from perfection, but from authenticity. The audience began to shift their focus, some leaning forward in curiosity, others smiling at the courage she displayed. By the end of the performance, applause erupted, not just for the dance itself, but for the bravery she had shown in standing strong despite the humiliation. Backstage, Amina's hands were shaking, but her heart was light. Imran stood beside her, offering a simple smile. "You did it," he said softly. "You let the world see your heart." Amina felt a mixture of exhaustion, relief, and pride. For the first time, she realized that courage was not about being fearless. It was about continuing to move forward despite fear. The humiliation of the sack, the whispers, the stares, they had no power over her when she refused to give them that power. The festival continued, but for Amina, the day had already been life-changing. People approached her to compliment the performance, and some even expressed admiration for the emotion she had brought to the stage. It was a small victory, but meaningful. She had faced the harsh judgment of her peers and emerged with her dignity intact, strengthened rather than broken. That evening, as the festival wound down and the streets emptied, Amina and Imran walked through the quiet town, reflecting on the day. "You were incredible," he said, looking at her with genuine admiration. "You didn't just dance, you showed everyone who you really are." Amina smiled, feeling warmth spread through her chest. She realized that true recognition came not from others' approval, but from staying true to herself. Over the following weeks, Amina noticed subtle changes in the way people treated her. While some still whispered, more people approached her with curiosity rather than judgment. Children asked her to teach them dance moves, and she began holding small practice sessions at home, sharing her love of movement with others. Each lesson, each smile, reminded her that her talent and courage mattered far more than any external standard of beauty. Her friendship with Imran deepened during this time. They spent hours together, walking through the town, discussing music, dance, and life. He never judged her, never focused on her size, and always encouraged her to pursue her passion. Amina began to trust him in ways she had never trusted anyone before. She felt seen, valued, and understood. The quiet support he offered became a steady foundation upon which she could begin to rebuild her confidence and her sense of self-worth. Amina also began to reflect on her own growth. She realized that the sack incident, though initially humiliating, had been a turning point. It forced her to confront fear directly, to step into the spotlight even when the world seemed against her. She understood that courage was not always dramatic or public. It could be quiet, steadfast, and personal. Each day, as she practiced, taught, and moved with intention, she strengthened not just her body but her heart. Her family noticed the change too. Her mother often commented on the new light in her eyes, the way she carried herself with quiet dignity. Her father, though reserved, began showing more open pride in her accomplishments. These small affirmations reinforced Amina's growing sense of self. She realized that while external validation could be fleeting, the internal recognition of her own courage and talent was enduring and powerful. As the town moved on from the festival, Amina found herself thinking differently about the world and her place in it. She no longer saw herself as merely the big girl or the girl who couldn't dance. She recognized her unique qualities, her resilience, her passion, her ability to inspire others, and her refusal to be defined by superficial standards. These realizations were small seeds, growing quietly but steadily within her, promising a future where she could shine on her own terms. By the end of that season, Amina had transformed in ways that were invisible to most people but profoundly meaningful to her. She had faced public humiliation, yet emerged stronger and more confident. She had learned the value of genuine support, of someone believing in her when she struggled to believe in herself. And she had discovered the power of staying true to one's heart, even when the world seemed cruel and unforgiving. Amina's journey was far from over. The challenges of life, judgment, and self-doubt would continue, but she now had tools to face them: courage, resilience, talent, and the unwavering support of someone who truly saw her. And as she prepared for future performances, teaching, and the possibility of love, she knew that she had already passed a significant test, the test of believing in herself when the world tried to tell her she was less than enough. After the festival, Amina's life began to change in ways she had never imagined. The humiliation of the sack incident had passed, but its lessons stayed with her. She realized that courage, resilience, and authenticity were more powerful than the opinions of others. People in the town had begun to notice her not only for her dancing, but for the strength of character she displayed under pressure. Children sought her out, asking her to teach them simple dance steps, while some adults started acknowledging her talent and determination. Slowly, the town began to see Amina in a new light. Imran's presence in her life became even more important during this time. He was always there, quietly supporting her without making her feel obligated or pressured. Their friendship blossomed naturally, built on trust, understanding, and shared moments of joy. They would spend hours walking through the town, talking about everything from music and dance to hopes and dreams for the future. Sometimes they would sit by the small river that ran through the town, listening to the gentle flow of water, and discuss life in ways that left Amina feeling seen and appreciated. Through these conversations, Amina began to open up about her deepest fears and insecurities. She spoke about the years of ridicule she had endured, the way she had felt invisible, and how she sometimes questioned her own worth. Imran listened patiently, never interrupting, never judging. When she finished speaking, he would gently remind her of her courage and talent, saying things like, "You are stronger than you think. You have a gift that many people will never understand. Don't let anyone take that away from you." His words comforted her in a way that few others ever had, and Amina began to trust him more deeply than she had trusted anyone before. As the months passed, Amina began participating more actively in town events. She was invited to perform at local gatherings, small ceremonies, and even children's parties. At first, the nervousness never fully disappeared. She would feel the old pangs of fear and doubt before every performance, but with each dance, she gained confidence. The joy of moving to music, of expressing herself freely, became stronger than the fear of judgment. People began to respect her dedication, and many admired her ability to persevere despite the challenges she had faced. One day, Amina decided to organize a small dance class for local children. She cleared a space in her home, played music, and taught them basic steps. At first, the children were shy and hesitant, but Amina's warmth and encouragement helped them relax. She showed them that dance was not about being perfect or looking a certain way, but about enjoying movement and expressing feelings. As she watched the children laugh, twirl, and leap with joy, she felt a deep sense of fulfillment. Teaching others reminded her of the joy she had always found in dance and made her realize that her talent could touch people's lives in meaningful ways. Imran was always supportive of her efforts. He would help set up the space, encourage the children, and offer advice when Amina asked for it. Their teamwork strengthened their bond, and Amina began to see him not just as a friend but as someone who genuinely cared about her well-being. She noticed little things about him that made her heart flutter. The way he always noticed the smallest details, his patience with the children, and his quiet, steady presence that made her feel safe. As their friendship deepened, the town began to treat Amina differently. While some people still whispered or made judgments, more began to admire her courage, talent, and dedication. Children ran to greet her in the streets, asking her to teach them new moves. Parents praised her patience and kindness. Even some of the peers who had once mocked her began to show respect, seeing her as someone who had overcome challenges with grace. Slowly, Amina began to feel accepted, not just for her dancing, but for who she truly was. The more time Amina spent with Imran, the more she realized that her feelings for him were growing. It was not just admiration or gratitude, it was something deeper, a quiet love that had been developing over months of shared experiences, laughter, and support. Yet she hesitated to acknowledge it fully, afraid that expressing her feelings might ruin the friendship or change the balance they had carefully built. Imran, meanwhile, seemed equally careful, showing affection in subtle ways without ever overwhelming her. One evening, as the sun was setting and casting a warm golden light over the town, Amina and Imran walked along the riverbank. The air was cool, and the sound of the water was soothing. They talked about future dreams, Amina's desire to continue dancing, perhaps even professionally, and Imran's hopes to start a small business that would help the community. For a long time, there was a comfortable silence between them, the kind that speaks louder than words. Finally, Imran spoke softly. "You've grown so much, Amina. I've always admired you, but now I see just how strong and beautiful you really are, inside and out." Amina felt her heart skip a beat. She looked at him, unsure whether to speak or remain silent. The words hung in the air, but the warmth in his eyes gave her courage. For the first time, she allowed herself to believe that someone could love her for who she truly was, without judgment, without conditions. It was a revelation that filled her with hope and a sense of possibility she had never felt before. Over the next few months, their relationship deepened naturally. They spent more time together, sharing meals, practicing dance, and helping each other with daily tasks. Imran never focused on Amina's size or appearance. Instead, he celebrated her talent, her courage, and her heart. His respect and admiration allowed Amina to see herself differently. She began to take more pride in her accomplishments and stopped letting negative opinions define her self-worth. Amina's confidence began to reflect in every aspect of her life. She continued teaching dance to children, performing at local events, and practicing her routines diligently. Her self-esteem grew, not because of validation from others, but because she had learned to recognize her own value. She realized that true beauty and strength come from within, from determination, courage, and the willingness to pursue one's passions despite challenges. Imran remained her unwavering supporter. He would often surprise her with small gestures, like bringing her favorite snack after a long day of practice, or leaving a note of encouragement in her bag. Each gesture reminded Amina that love and support could exist without judgment, and that someone could truly see and value her for who she was. She began to dream not only of a life filled with dance, but also of a life shared with someone who respected and cherished her. One day, while teaching her dance class, Amina noticed the children looking at her with admiration. One little girl tugged at her sleeve and asked, "Miss Amina, how did you become so brave?" The question made Amina pause. She realized that her journey, from feeling invisible and ridiculed to being a teacher and mentor, was inspiring others. It was a reminder that courage and authenticity could influence not only one's own life, but also the lives of those around them. Amina shared her story with the children in simple terms, emphasizing that everyone faces challenges, but it is how one responds that truly matters. She encouraged them to embrace their passions, be kind, and never let the opinions of others limit their dreams. As she spoke, she felt a sense of fulfillment that was deeper than any applause or recognition. She understood that her journey was not just about personal growth, it was about lifting others along the way. Through these experiences, Amina and Imran's bond strengthened. They celebrated small victories together, the successful completion of a dance class, a positive comment from a parent, or a new move mastered by one of the children. Their partnership was built on mutual respect, encouragement, and shared values. Amina began to see him not only as a friend but as a companion, someone who would stand by her through life's challenges and joys. The town, too, had begun to change its perception of Amina. While some still whispered, many more now respected her for her dedication, talent, and courage. She was no longer just the girl who was too fat to dance. She was a teacher, a performer, and a role model, a young woman who had faced fear, embraced her passions, and earned the respect of her community. This recognition was not the goal, but it was a welcome acknowledgement of the strength she had cultivated within herself. Amina's journey of self-discovery and acceptance was far from over, but she had reached an important milestone. She had learned to love herself, to embrace her talents, and to appreciate the support of someone who truly cared for her. She understood that life's challenges would continue, but with courage, perseverance, and genuine love, she could face them with confidence and grace. As the seasons changed, Amina felt a quiet happiness settle in her heart. She continued to dance, teach, and grow, knowing that her value was not defined by appearance or societal standards. She had discovered that the true measure of a person lies in their heart, their resilience, and the way they lift others along the journey. And with Imran by her side, she felt ready to embrace whatever life had in store, confident that she could face the future with strength, joy, and love. Time passed, and Amina's life had changed in ways she never could have imagined. She had faced years of ridicule, humiliation, and self-doubt, yet she had emerged stronger, braver, and more confident. Her love for dance had not only survived but flourished, becoming a source of joy, expression, and inspiration for herself and those around her. She continued teaching children, performing at small events, and sharing her story quietly, helping others find courage and hope. But one thing had grown steadily in her heart: her feelings for Imran. Imran had become more than a friend. He was a constant presence, a source of quiet strength, and someone who understood her better than anyone else. His support was unwavering, and his admiration for her heart, courage, and talent had never wavered. They spent long evenings together, walking through the town, talking about dreams, laughing about small things, and sometimes sitting in silence, enjoying each other's company. Over time, Amina realized that she had fallen in love with him, and she felt certain, deep in her heart, that he felt the same way. One crisp morning, Imran suggested they visit a small hill outside the town. The place was quiet, overlooking the fields and rooftops bathed in golden sunlight. Amina loved the view. It made her feel peaceful, as though the entire world had paused just for them. They walked slowly, side by side, sharing stories about childhood memories, hopes for the future, and small dreams that felt big in the moment. Amina felt a warmth spread through her chest as she glanced at Imran. He had always been gentle, never rushing her or pushing her to be someone she was. His patience and understanding had taught her what it meant to be truly seen and valued. As they reached the top of the hill, Imran stopped and turned to face her. There was a quiet intensity in his eyes, a depth of feeling that made her heart skip a beat. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, carefully wrapped box. Amina's breath caught. She had a sense of what was coming, yet part of her still hesitated, unsure if she deserved such happiness. "Amina," he began softly, "I have watched you grow, fight, and shine. I have seen the courage it took for you to face the world, to dance with your heart, and to rise above every challenge. You are the most incredible person I have ever met, and I have loved you from the moment I truly saw you." His voice trembled slightly, not from fear, but from the depth of emotion he was trying to express. Amina's eyes filled with tears. She felt a mixture of joy, relief, and disbelief. All those years of doubt, fear, and pain seemed to dissolve in that single moment. She had always dreamed of being seen, truly appreciated for who she was, but nothing could have prepared her for this feeling of being cherished completely. Imran opened the small box, revealing a simple yet elegant ring. "I want to spend my life with you," he said. "Not because of what you look like, but because of who you are. Your heart, your strength, your kindness, your talent, they make you the person I want to be with forever. Will you marry me?" Amina's hands trembled as she took the ring. She felt a warmth spreading through her entire body, a sense of completeness she had never known. Tears streamed down her face as she nodded, unable to speak at first. "Yes," she whispered finally, her voice trembling but filled with certainty. "Yes, I will." The moment felt like magic. The wind blew gently, rustling the grass, and the sun bathed them in a warm glow. Amina felt a wave of happiness wash over her. She realized that love, true love, had never been about appearances, judgment, or social approval. It had always been about connection, respect, and the willingness to see and accept someone fully. And now, after years of struggle and growth, she had found it. In the days that followed, Amina's life seemed brighter than ever. She continued teaching dance, performing at local events, and sharing her passion with children. But now, her heart was lighter, filled with the knowledge that someone loved her deeply and unconditionally. She felt more confident than ever, not because others approved of her, but because she had learned to appreciate and believe in herself. Her family was overjoyed at the news of her engagement. Her mother cried tears of happiness, holding her close and whispering, "You always deserved this, my dear. I am so proud of the woman you have become." Her father, who had always been quiet, smiled warmly and placed a hand on her shoulder. "You have shown true strength and courage," he said simply. "We are proud of you, Amina." Their approval and support made her feel even more complete, as if all the years of struggle had led to this moment of joy and fulfillment. As wedding preparations began, Amina and Imran worked together to make the event personal and meaningful. They focused on celebrating love, family, and community rather than extravagance or appearances. Children from her dance classes were included, performing small routines, and neighbors came together to help with decorations and food. The wedding became a symbol not just of their love, but of Amina's journey, her growth, courage, and the acceptance she had earned through perseverance. On the day of the wedding, Amina walked down the small aisle in her home garden, surrounded by loved ones. She felt a sense of calm and joy that she had never experienced before. The music played, children laughed, and the flowers her mother had planted swayed gently in the breeze. Imran waited at the end, his eyes full of love and admiration. As she approached him, Amina realized that every struggle, every tear, every moment of doubt had been worth it. She had found happiness, not because she had changed to fit others' expectations, but because she had embraced herself fully. When they exchanged vows, Amina spoke from the heart. She acknowledged the challenges she had faced, the moments of fear and insecurity, and the journey that had led her to this point. She spoke of the importance of courage, authenticity, and self-respect, and she thanked Imran for seeing her for who she truly was. The audience listened in silence, many moved to tears by the honesty and depth of her words. Imran, in turn, vowed to support her, honor her, and cherish her for all the days of their lives. The ceremony ended with laughter, dancing, and celebration. Amina and Imran's joy was infectious, spreading to everyone around them. Children twirled in circles, neighbors clapped along with music, and family members hugged tightly, sharing in the happiness of the couple. It was a day of triumph, not just for love, but for the resilience, courage, and determination that had carried Amina through years of struggle. In the weeks and months that followed, Amina and Imran settled into married life. They continued teaching dance, performing, and supporting each other in their dreams. Amina's confidence grew even stronger, and she became a role model for others in the town, especially girls and women who faced judgment or insecurity. She shared her story openly, emphasizing that true beauty and worth come from within, and that courage, self-respect, and persistence are the keys to a fulfilling life. Amina also discovered that her love for dance could extend beyond her small town. She began organizing larger classes and small performances for the neighboring communities, teaching children and young adults that passion and talent are more important than appearances. Each new student, each successful performance, reminded her of the journey she had undertaken, the fear, the ridicule, the courage, and the eventual triumph. Imran remained a constant source of support and love. They faced challenges together, as all couples do, but their foundation of mutual respect, admiration, and understanding made those challenges easier to navigate. Imran's unwavering belief in Amina's worth and talent helped her continue growing, not just as a dancer, but as a confident, independent woman. As years passed, Amina reflected on her life and the journey that had brought her to this point. She remembered the girl who had been too afraid to dance in public, the girl who had felt invisible and unworthy, and the girl who had faced ridicule and judgment. And she marveled at how far she had come. Her life was not perfect, but it was full of love, joy, and purpose. She had discovered that true happiness comes not from fitting societal standards, but from embracing oneself fully, pursuing passions with heart, and surrounding oneself with people who genuinely care and respect you. One evening, as Amina and Imran sat together watching the sunset, she reflected on the journey. She felt a deep sense of gratitude for her family, for the town that had slowly come to respect her, for the children she taught, and most of all, for Imran, who had seen her heart when so many others had only seen appearances. "Life is beautiful," she whispered. Imran smiled, taking her hand. "Not because it's easy," he said, "but because you have the courage to face it with heart and love." Amina realized that her story was no longer one of fear or insecurity, but of triumph and hope. She had learned that self-worth is cultivated from within, that courage can overcome judgment, and that love, true love, transcends appearances and societal expectations. She knew that her journey would inspire others, and that the life she was building with Imran was a testament to perseverance, authenticity, and the power of seeing and being seen fully. Her dance continued to be her sanctuary, her expression, and her joy. Every movement told a story, not just of struggle, but of resilience, courage, and the triumph of the human spirit. And through it all, Imran stood by her, not as someone who completed her, but as someone who celebrated her completely, heart and soul. In the end, Amina realized that life's most profound lessons are often born from struggle. The girl who was once too afraid to dance, too self-conscious to shine, had become a woman who inspired others, loved deeply, and embraced life fully. She had discovered that true happiness is not measured by the eyes of others, but by the courage to live authentically, to love openly, and to honor one's own heart. And in Imran, she had found a partner who saw, valued, and cherished every part of her, making the journey all the more beautiful.